Good evening and welcome, concerned residents of Reservoir Hills and residents from other areas that are present. And a special welcome to our distinguished guests from Reservoir Ratepayers Association. A special thanks goes to Resmont, management and staff, including the governing body, for allowing us this opportunity with short notice to I'll start by saying we started the Reservoir Hills Ratepayers movement on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, and by 12 o'clock we had 300 followers. We were ecstatic and pleased, and then we had sad news. We informed that our current Reservoir Hills Ratepayers Association refused and rejected an invite from Asad Kafur from Reservoir Ratepayers Association. And thereafter we, a few members that initiated this group, decided to get in touch with Asad, had a few meetings, addressed our concerns, and we have decided to have this meeting today, which is short notice. Please understand and forgive us, we're only 4 days old, so we expect some shortfalls. Now, to get back to the Reservoir Ratepayers Association, Asad has recreated a wheel that's concentric, transparent, and accommodating. And most importantly, it's durable. This wheel is so large that it can accommodate the residents of Reservoir Hills and the various and several other areas that require his assistance. Now I hand you over to Dave, that's also a Reservoir Ratepayers Association member, that will talk to you. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for having us. Thank you very much for coming. Kind of feel like our mayor, you know, the one who wants to steal a lot, spend all the money, all your money, and dance about it at the ICC. Can't do that. You've got to come down here. Guys, this team has put together, in a very short time, they've done a lot. And all I can say to you is, please, don't say to them, what are you doing? Say to them, how can we help? What can we do? That's important. What can we do? Because one guy standing alone, he goes to court, someone threatens him, says, hey, I want my 600 million rand, I'm going to kill you if you stop me. And that's what happened. That's exactly what happened. But together, they're not going to come and they're not going to do that. Our money is going to be our money. And we're going to say to the municipality, don't waste our money. And that's what this is about. This is not about Mshanga Rocks or Westwood or Reservoir Hills or Amanza Toti. This is about, we're paying you money, spend it wisely. Every month we pay our rates. Every month we pay our rates. Every month we pay our rates. Every month, Mountbatten Drive was a river this morning, a river. I reported that leak, the one at the top, on Mountbatten and Annette. I reported it 4 times this year. That's not acceptable, guys. You know that, you live it every day. And that's not Reservoir Hills, that's everywhere. Doesn't matter where you go in the city. Doesn't matter where you go. We're driving through sewage. We're driving through water leaks. We have electricity problems. So thank you for coming. Please ask your neighbors to come to the next one. Ask your neighbors to support you. Ask your neighbors to get involved. Because together we can fix the city. And trust me, it won't take long. It won't take long. Some of our guys are going to meet Chris Pappas. Took him 6 months. Imagine what we can do and how quickly we can fix our city. So what I'll do with that introduction, I'll hand you over to our chairperson, Seth. Now, I don't know if you're aware of the rates protest. Not a rates boycott, rates protest. Very different thing. Constitutional right says we can protest, and we are. And the way we're going to protest is saying, it's not your money to throw throw away. It's not your money, 600 million rand to this guy, 300 million rand to our ex-mayor. It's our money, and we're holding it back until you spend it responsibly. That's all we're asking, and that, I think, is a fair thing to do. So with that, I'll hand you over to Asad.
Thank you, David. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to come and talk to you. But I think before we do that, I think we need to give a round of applause to this team that has actually managed to pull this together in such short notice. So to Mr. Anil, Yogesh, Diraj, Rob, Mr. Naveen, the stalwart. Sorry, I forget the other gentleman. Nirosh and Vinesh. So these guys approached us and they put their concerns on the table. And they wanted to engage us and find out exactly what process we were following. And they wanted to have a better understanding. And I think that's the reason why most of you are here tonight. So I want to get to that. But before we get there, please can you give these guys a round? So as the Reservoir Ratepayers Association, we've been in existence for almost 2.5 years now. We do in fact have some people from Reservoir Hills who sneak into our database and join membership and we run content. We've been engaging with the city for, as I said, for a long time now. And we were concerned about how things were starting to unfold. And the more we looked into the issues, we soon realized that the city is falling apart. In fact, it's falling apart at a substantial rate. It's falling apart daily. The water outages, the electricity issues. And this is due to the failing infrastructure. So we're not going to get into the politics of anything and the councillors. In fact, the issue sits at City Council and basically the administration of the city. When they were presenting this year's budget, the 2023-2024, we were already 1 year in preparation. We engaged with the city last year. We looked at the budget. We were not happy with the budget. But unfortunately, the timing wasn't good for us, and we couldn't challenge it the way we wanted to challenge it, so we let it slide. But we took a decision 1 year ago that come this year, we need to be prepared, and that's exactly what we did. So in terms of the budget and in terms of legislation, when the city rolls out the budget for public participation is a process. It requires us as individuals to give input and our concerns. Now, they already published the tariffs, we knew what the tariffs were, and we needed to give input. And of course, the tariffs that they put on the table this year is added on to the increase that they already subjected us to last year. So even though we talk about 15.1, 7.2 in all of these figures, these are figures that we already brought on top of last year's increase. So for us, this was a concern. So, like I told you, we've been looking at the finances of the city, and we just studied the Auditor General report. And what we picked up there actually shocked us. That in 5 years, the city lost 50 billion rand. Now we're saying 50 billion rand is a whole year's budget. Had the city looked at this amount and factored it into the budget or protected that 50 billion rand, technically we shouldn't be taking an increase. The other concern that we had was the electricity tariff. The city proposed, I think it was a 20.2%, and that was above the 15.1% maximum that NERSA was allowing municipalities. Now the 15.1 electricity tariff that we talk about is the cap, meaning the city can take 0 up to 15.1. It can't go more than 15.1. So we challenged the city on this and we said, how can you propose or put a figure in your budget that's not even approved by NASA? It's illegal, you can't do that. And what would you do if NASA doesn't approve? Obviously they couldn't answer us. They steamrolled the adoption of the budget. A few of us, my EXCO team, was what, maybe 15 or 20 of us in total. There was representation from Bluff Ratepayers Association, Overport, and Chatsworth. It's about 15 of us. We went to this council meeting, but we advised them, we're coming to this meeting, we want to be present, we probably want to give input. And the city was so afraid of us. They actually brought in public order policing. So it was a joke for us. But anyway, they parked out there, ready for us to throw us into handcuffs. None of that happened. In this meeting, the Chief Financial Officer, Dr. Sandile Nguni, he approached me and he said, we need to talk. So I said, yes, we definitely need to talk. We're not going to accept this budget. You can do what you like, and we will do what we like. So he agreed. He said, let's meet. I said, you tell me the date and time we'll meet. So he gave us a date around the 7th of June, I think it was. We met with him. A few of my executives were there. They misbehaved a little bit. They were shouting at him. And I happened to come in a little bit late, so I had to calm the whole situation down. In this meeting, we spoke about all the same things that I'm telling you, and we raised our concern in terms of wasteful and fruitless expenditure. That money is just leaving the city, and for us that's a concern. He assured us in that meeting that any tender or any allocation, any job above 250,000 rand will go through their AI system, meaning the system will choose who the contractor will be. Anything over 250,000. So we accepted it. We said, okay, fine, if that's one of the measures that you're putting in place, we'll accept it. When we saw this report come out from ENCA, that 90 million rand left the city in June, and this is after we met him. We said this is unacceptable. It's unacceptable that we're sitting with these officials, we're talking to them, they're giving us promises and nothing is happening. So we as the WRA, we took a decision. What is the way forward? We could have went to court and interdicted the tariff increase, and then we contemplated about that decision. Obviously, we've got a legal team behind us, and in the discussion, we spoke about all the different court cases around the country, and one of the things that was brought up was the split regimes in schools. Now, there's 9 constitutional court judgments against the education department, compelling them to stop or to rebuild toilets for those students. 9. All that the education department had to do was say, we don't have the budget. And that's exactly what we did. We don't have the budget, you can bring another 10 more, and that's it. So, taking that into account, we looked at the scenario if we went and interdicted the municipality against the tariff increase. The argument that they would have put was if they require it in order to continue functioning. So we may have got the victory, but the court would have set it aside. Meaning, we would have got the victory and the court would say, we are allowing this municipality 6 months or 8 months to relook and adjust and come back to court. Now, we found that it's not the best option. So we went back to the drawing board. thought about it, we spoke again with the legal team, and we decided, in fact, this process that we're taking now has always been on the cards. In fact, I've been trying to push it out. But from the legal advice that we got, is that this will be the best option. So to declare a dispute, which is in terms of the Municipal Assistance Act, Section 102.2, you declare a dispute with the city, you set down the terms and conditions of your dispute, which we were very clear. So one, they did not consult with the community, they did not do public participation process, or the public participation process was flawed. They did go around to communities, they did speak to communities, they did do presentations, but they didn't listen. They didn't take into account the socio-economic aspects, they didn't take into account they're using money, all of these things. So the dispute, one, the public participation process was flawed. In fact, they didn't meet with us as Westfield. They met with everyone, they didn't meet with us, we wrote to them, they finally conceded and they gave us a day, 3 days before they adopted the budget. And that's unacceptable. Around the first week of June, the mayor was in Yellowwood Park, I think it is. And the community questioned, well, we were present in this meeting, and they put questions to the mayor, and tough questions, in terms of the budget, in terms of wastage, in terms of service delivery. And the mayor actually got frustrated. When he got frustrated, he lashed out at the community and he said, whether you like it or not, this budget is going ahead. So it was already a done deal. So our argument is, if you already were going to take this budget, then you didn't need to continue going and consulting with the community, because you have already taken that decision. So anyway, we've got the evidence and we can argue that. So the public participation process was definitely flawed. The second major issue that we have is the fact that they're not looking after the money. Now this is where it becomes interesting, because what we are saying is, why must we pay the city who put money into treasury or into the city coffers, but they're not looking after the money? So that is a problem, and it's a major problem. Obviously what we are attempting to do hasn't been done anywhere in South Africa. It's the first time. So we've declared the dispute, we've advised the city that we are not going to pay you. We're going to take this money, we're going to put it into a trust account. When you come to the table, we can come to some sort of an agreement, then yes, we will hand over this money to you. Now, a lot of so-called people in the community, they've been pushing out judgments insofar as putting money into a trust account. Those judgments are related particularly to those incidents. And all of these judgments, the case was around service delivery. Meaning, they withheld their money because they were not getting service delivery. Now, when it went to court and they argued the matter, the question came about because in terms of legislation, a municipality needs to provide effective service delivery. So what does effective mean? And that became an academic discussion. So the one party had to prove there was no service delivery, and the other party had to prove there was service delivery. Even as we stand right now, with all our potholes, with all our leaking pipes, with all the soil, if we went to court now against the Tekwini on service delivery, like as we stand, we lose. Because they just need to do a little. That's all they need to do. So we were careful in that regard. We said we're not going to challenge them on service delivery. We're going to challenge them on public participation, and we're going to challenge them on the fact that they're losing money. We've got all the documents, all the papers, all the evidence, the AG report, the MPAC report, all of this is stacked up against them. We've advised the city. This is the process. this is what we're going to do. If you are unhappy, you do what you need to do. We will do what we need to do. And so far, I can tell you that the only response we got was from the CFO. He threatened us a little bit, and we threatened him back a little bit. And we said, if you are going to institute any credit control measures against any individual, we will personally be liable. And that was it, he didn't respond. 2 days ago, I received a phone call from the city. They want to talk to us because they can understand what the repercussions are going to be. And we said, fine, you give us a date, send it on email, give us an official invite, we'll sit down, we'll talk, but we're not stopping the process. Again, there's this thing in the community that our action is going to bring about the financial collapse of the city. That's absolutely correct. That's exactly what we're doing. And that's part of our strategy. And the reason we're doing this is the city is broken. In fact, you would have seen in the press the provincial government trying to step in by introducing a Section 139. Unfortunately, it got rejected, it's gone back, and I don't think it's going to come. And there's a need for that. To put the city under administration means that there's a microscope on their finances. And that's exactly what we want to do. We want to put a microscope on the finances. So that's part of the strategy. Obviously, if the city doesn't have money, they won't be able to function. Province has to step in, Treasury has to step in, the city has to go under administration. Then the other concern is people will say, oh, but you are going to get disconnected for electricity. Technically, legally, they cannot do it. But we know the city and we know that they will try. But interestingly, I spoke to one of the councillors earlier this evening, and he tells me that it will be very difficult. They don't have budget to do this connection because municipalities also follow an in-house accounting principle, and they don't have the money. So the head of electricity said he won't be able to handle this. Nevertheless, we said they can try. Should they come and disconnect us, we will go to court. We will get a coalition order. We will stop them from doing that. The other concern was they won't pick up refuse. I mean, most of the time they don't even pick up refuse. It's not something that we don't know. But even if we have to organize ourselves, get some vehicles, and pick up the refuse and take it out to the suburbs, we will put plans in place to ensure all of those things happen. Water they cannot disconnect because if they do that, they violate a constitutional right, including electricity. They're not supposed to do that. But we have a legal team in place. We are ready for any eventualities, and we're ready to take the city on. For those of you who, in fact, this area, to me, I believe that you guys should have been leading this campaign, and we should be actually following you. The fact that you guys have so many stalwarts within your community, the fact that your community is affected the most in terms of all the different informal settlements affecting your daily way of life, and the fact that the city had money to rectify this issue of informal settlements. They had 300 million rand, and that money they didn't use it, and it went back to province. And that's the reason why they're putting them on a Section 139. In terms of the infrastructure, after the floods, the city was given 1.4 billion rand. Of the 1.4 billion rand that they received, they've only spent about 300 million rand. So it's not to say that they don't have the money. They do have the money, but they just don't have the will, or for whatever reason, they just don't care. And we are saying we can't carry on like this. For how much more are we going to put up with bad service delivery? You try to raise concerns, you try to phone and report your issues at the call center, there's no one there to pick it up. You're left without electricity, you're left without water for days. Nobody seems to be listening to you. And this is across the city. So we said, enough is enough. We're now going to go down this route, and we'll take it as it comes, and hopefully we'll be victorious. I think I've covered most of it. If you want to ask me any questions. I see everyone sitting at the back. I don't know if you were scared that I'll ask you the questions. Maybe I must start choosing people. Any questions, guys? Or you're sold? All of you are sold.
Good evening. Anish Marar from 103 Shannon Drive, Reservoir Hills, one of the healthiest parts of Reservoir Hills. In terms of fighting this issue, I'd like to know, with regards to funding, how is the funding going to take place? Because the court case is expensive, and how do you anticipate funding that?
Are you talking about the funding for the legal costs? So, the WRA, as I said, we've been in existence for almost 2.5 years. We are funded through membership. People pay us a membership fee to be part of the Reservoir Ratepayers Association. We do have some people that donate to us. And we've been accumulating funds for a while, which we are currently using at the moment to fight our legal costs. Our attorney, we have him on a retainer. So our costs are set every month. There is no 1 month, 100,000, next month, nothing. We've got him on a retainer and we're able to budget for that. So anyone joining in this campaign, we've taken the decision to represent anyone legally in this campaign. Part of the strategy that we have as well is the monies that we will be keeping for the city will be put into an investment account. Even if we get 5%, 6%, that's also going to help us to cover some of the costs. Any other question?
Sorry, is there a fund that one can pay to? You provide that to whoever wants to contribute?
I didn't get the question.
Do you have an account that people can contribute to?
You mean to help us?
That's right.
Yes. We have a separate legal account. We can share the details. Vic, we can share the details with you guys if you want to help us. We don't mind.
I am a resident of Halpan Avenue. I just want to clarify, so if we don't pay our metro bills, do we pay that money into a trust account? Is that how it's going, or we just don't pay it? Just for my clarity.
So you have to pay it into the account number that we will provide.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question?
I just want to find out, the full amount that we're going to put into that account, into the trust account, or is it only the rates portion? What amount?
We are withholding the full amount. Rates, lights, water. If you own more than one property, put all your property into the mix. So let me explain the strategy as well. The city is so cash-strapped at the moment. They don't even have more than 14 days worth of cash. The strategy is to squeeze them and squeeze them into submission, because for a long time they haven't taken us seriously. And they simply want to take our money from us, but they don't want to listen to us. And the only way we can make them listen is if we show them that you need to take us seriously. And the process is to not put a cent into the city. Under normal circumstances, if you receive your bill, from the date that you receive it or the date of that statement, you have 14 days to make that payment. So let's assume you receive the bill on the 20th. By the 4th of the following month, you need to make payment. If you don't make payment on the next statement, which comes out again on the 20th, you will get a notice telling you that you are in arrears and you need to make payment immediately. What we are seeing now is in the few bills that we've looked, they've changed that 40 days and they're going to putting a notice there to say we will institute legal action against you. So they've removed 40 days and they're saying legal action. Even with that threat, it's still another 3-4 weeks before the first disconnection comes. They'll never be able to survive 2 weeks without any money. It's impossible. They know it. I hope that makes it clear. Any other question? Can we get signed up now?
So if we decide to join this protest protest, and they come and disconnect my electricity, I phone you. I phone the Reservoir Ratepayers Association and I've been disconnected. You have my mandate to represent me. You will go to court for me.
So how it works is, if you want to be part of this campaign, we bring you first into a protest group. We should be sharing a link in the next day or two. That link, you will give us your personal information, your name, your surname, your account number, and the amount that's due to the municipality. There's an option there. Once you capture all of that, it automatically will put the money into the account. Once that is done, your information will be extracted from that spreadsheet. We will add you into a war room, calling it a war room, only for those people who have gone through this process. Once you are in this war room, it's a sealed chat room. It's not open to anyone, to spies or anything. In this room, when they come to disconnect you, you're gonna put on the group, they have my property, obviously because you're in the database, you know exactly where you are. We will respond immediately. First, physically, we're trying to hold them off. Eventually, if they do get into your yard and disconnect you, whilst we are trying to hold them off, our attorney will be in court.
Sorry, just another question. How do I support this movement? How do I, apart from being the man and having signed the mandate with you, financially, because this, I'm sure it's costly to run this, how do I support you?
You open your wallet, but we do have an account, a legal account, and to be honest with you, we do have some people in Reservoir for the last 3-4 months. They've been putting 500 and 1,000 and 1, which is helping us to cover our bills. In fact, I've got 2 gentlemen here, Vic and Mr. Nanda. They are Mr. Mining people. I don't even have signatories signing power of the bank. And every month they come to me and say, I said, there's money invested this month. I hope you watch it and keep reminding me. But you know, God is so great. Coming up the month, we have the money to pay our commitments. It's been happening like this now for the last couple of months. But thank you for the offer. I really appreciate it.
Don't you think we should tax each ratepayer a certain amount? It's a 500 rates. So if you've got like maybe 2,000 people, to start off your fund. I mean, 500 grand is not a big amount, but if you take it collectively.
Bless this
Thank you.
community.
So for us, we more concerned about other people. In fact, we didn't even go to our membership and ask them for any money. They do it on their own. We didn't want the perception out there to the community to see or to say, these guys are doing it for the money. And that's not our intention. I appreciate the offer that you're talking about. In fact, we spoke of a much lower amount. We look at 60 rand to 80 rand. rand up to 100 rand. We've got about just under 1,000 members. And if each of our members just gave us 100 rand, it automatically gives us a boost. But we didn't even present it to our members because we didn't want them to feel that we're there for the money. Although we appreciate whatever we get.
What is your membership currently?
Just under 1,000. Out of 8,800 investors. What I would suggest to you guys in this community, in fact, I spoke to the leadership the other day, you all need to strengthen this organization, even if it's just a few of you. And they were also shy about this. And I spoke to our members and told them mitigation was sitting close to me, and I said, guys, you have to go on paid membership. If you want to really be effective for your community, you need to have the resources. And the resources is obviously cash. We understand people are poor. I mean, we talk 1,000 membership in Westwood out of 8,800 homes, not residents, 8,800 homes. Our cost is 120 rand per year, which is 10 rand a month. Now, it's a small amount. I mean, we eat out more than 500,000 rand on a weekend. We're talking 10 rand a month. If you guys can strengthen this organization that's started, you are going to equip them to be able to help you because they need the resources. In most ratepayer associations, the community is funding the association from their own pocket, and that's not sustainable. And that's the reason why we as the Reservoir Ratepayers Association, we went on paid membership, although we still funding from our pocket, even though there is paid membership. But if you can fund them, they can then take a decision to say, as the community of Reservoir Hills, we can make this contribution to Reservoir to take this fight for us, and that we can appreciate. But strengthen them first.
Sorry, one question. In one of the three levels, this connection stuff, so there's a clarification that if I don't pay my net account after the 4 weeks or 6 weeks grace we're given, they don't put your house extension tolerance cut from the roadside. So if someone's project cut off on Friday or weekend or on weekend, example, and the team is only always a team that's contacted the council. By the time we get the lawyers, by the time we put the petition and get the ball rolling, it'll be a good few days before you get called back again. And there's a lot of loss to the residents as well. And I think that's where the scare factor is coming in. But we don't have any clear lines stating the power of day is the timeline to get cut back on by this time at home. Because that's what the area where everyone's got a concern. And you have a lot of money to lose with your fridge, your freezer, and whatever. So I think that's the more clear timeline for us to understand. Okay.
Is there a way that if you are a paid member, like for argument's sake, right, you will have us on your own areas, right? You then issue the municipality with a listing, right, of your paid members that will not be disconnected, that are part of your home.
That's the plan.
Because that is the only way for it to work.
But even though we do it, this municipality will still attempt to disconnect. That's a fact. We know them, we know how to operate. They have a total disregard for law. They feel they are a law to themselves. They will attempt to disconnect. Although, even if we do all of these things, and we can't go to court and get an incident against them for doing this because they need to commit the offense first before you go to court. What I am saying to the municipality is if you want to disconnect, come and disconnect me first because I will take you to court. And we will just need to go for one disconnection. When we go to court, and obviously we will argue the matter, we will put our case forward, the municipality will put their case forward. If we win, we win. If we lose, we simply come back to our members and we say we lost, Whatever money is in this account, I'm sorry, we have to pay to the municipality, we hand over the money to them and we move on. So, coming back to what the gentleman asked there is that, how long will this take? It's an urgent order. It can take anything from 2 hours to a day. Now, again, we need to ask ourselves, how much are we prepared to sacrifice to make our lives better? How much people in the past had to sacrifice to make their lives better? I mean, we've got people in Western, and I'm not sure about Reservoir Hills, but we had, after the last storm, we had people who were without power for 7 days. 7 days. This is not even going to take 7 days. The most is going to take is a day. And we might have to make that sacrifice.
Why don't we take an interdict now to prevent the municipality from cutting off the lights and water in the future? Telling the court, we have the funds to pay, but it's in a trust account until the matter is resolved.
As I explained, we can't do that because if we go to court to interdict, they can come to court and say that they had no intention to do so. So you have to let the process unfold before you go to court.
Yeah, but if they come to court and say they don't have an intention to do so, it doesn't matter. We know that in the future they can't cut the lights off.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of the legal process, the court won't hear us. What we talk about is an urgent interdict. An urgent interdict, you first need to apply, you need to apply. You first need to tell the judge why it's urgent. If we have to go, what we're talking about is a declarative. That thing could take 5 to 6 months. So we need to first do what we need to do. They then need to do the disconnection, and I'm encouraging them to disconnect me first. I'm saying disconnect me first. Just to put it into perspective, and I want to, maybe you guys will understand this a little bit better. We look at all the scenarios and we hear the concerns from people who are saying that, hey, you know what, they're going to disconnect my electricity. I don't know how I'm going to survive. It's going to affect my way of life. And we sat as experts, a couple of us, and we took this into account. We said, you know, the people are afraid. And how do we overcome this fear? Because for some reason we feel if we don't have electricity, we will die. And that's not true, we will survive. But we said, let's take this into account. So one of the guys sitting in the meeting said, okay, let's do this. Let's only take vacant property. Vacant and abandoned property. And hijacked buildings. So any property, anyone who owns property that's undeveloped, there's no one staying there, or if there's a house, but for some reason there's nobody staying there, we will put those properties. If we put those properties, who are they going to disconnect? And even if there's no lights, there's no water, there's absolutely nothing they can do. Then there's this issue of hijacked buildings in town, because there's a lot, and the municipality is refusing to take any action against those people who hijacked these buildings, and the landlords are losing a fortune because these guys are just running after water bills, and the landlord has to pay because it's a constitutional right. Municipality is not prepared to intervene. So they said they'll bring these buildings in. We said fine. In this meeting, I said, but you know, I trust the process that we follow. So all the vacant land and myself, I'm going to put myself through this because we want to get to court, we want to stop the disconnections. This team of mine here, I don't know, they refused to let me do this on their own. They said no, they want to be part of it, so they joined. After they joined, we then received a lot of requests from other people who explained the same thing to them, and they said we joined as well, and this is why we are. So a lot of people are prepared to go down this journey. We are cognizant of the fact that some people are scared, and we respect that. We're not forcing anybody to join us, but we do have support. We have a lot of support, and people are prepared to walk this journey, come what may. We have to take these people on.
Sorry, I just want to ask, I know the Reservoir Ratepayers have, the ones that are protesting, have signed the mandate, have given their particulars, their account numbers. Can the Reservoir Hills Ratepayers do the same on the same link
Yes. Yes, all will be in one database. That mandate, which we have at the moment, is going to change in the next day or two, because there will be a payment that will be linked to that mandate. So when we share that link, it will be open to the whole affected community. It's one link. You click on the link, you will put your information, your account number, you will sign the mandate. There's a document that you need to sign, a protest document, which will get emailed to you automatically. You sign that, you send it back to us, done and dusted.
The other thing is that some of us, our bills have been delayed, you know, so we don't have the amount of, and some of us get our rates and water bill as one account, and then the electricity as another account. So we have two account numbers, and we haven't received some of the amounts. We haven't received the bills, so we can't get the amount.
Yeah, that's one of the strategies that the city board this month. We knew which direction we were going, and for some reason, some of these bills are delayed. And it's more for those who are on a debit order system, we're finding. So, because they are on a debit order system, the city's already putting the money, even though they haven't issued the statement of the amount of the utility bill. And that's also illegal because they're taking money, you don't even know what your amount is. But it's one of the tricks that they're using now to make sure that they can put as much money as they can away from people who are going to withdraw.
Full. Each account number is a mandate.
Yeah, each of those bills you're talking about, you've got a separate rates bill and a separate utility bill. You will have to do for both. For each account number, you will have to sign a separate mandate.
Thank you. My question is, what happened with that accumulated EMR? Basically, because we said that wrongly charged bills. For example, for example, I managed to go 10 years because we get that 3 times. And they get no resolution whatsoever. So I chose not to pay. So in me, I understand how can I pay? Because there's huge area amount that's current. Secondly, the current this current amount is documented. I give example, I paid like 3,100 rates, and I've got 50,000. And it's impossible for me to pay that amount.
Is that vacant?
No. Simple. I've been challenging you if I do my trade and I start construction of trade. First, you say the wrongful use of the building and a proof that we are allowed at the wrongful use. Then it says it's illegal development. They asked me to put new plans, they did. And the planning department said, what do you want me to do with the new plan? Because I did to the old plans. So now the water rates are lower, but still 6 times higher than what we used to. So either way, I don't want to pay the money while they define my problem.
You need to see me after this related offline. In terms of the credit control policy, once you declare the dispute, they cannot take any credit control measures against you. For you, I'm going to say, don't take the risk, but I need you to come and see me. The fact that you stay on the property and you're building the property, building on the property, but they're subjecting that piece of land in terms of vacant land, a higher rate land, which is a problem for you. But we can only deal with it offline. It's going to take us too long to go. There's a lot of people who have been forced into credit agreements with the city for various reasons. So either a high electricity bill or a high water bill, and basically they come to you, or when you go to them, they tell you 25% down, and you get into an agreement with us, and your life goes on. And you get scared, and you sign, and you move on, and then 6 months later they do the same thing to you, and this thing just goes on and on and on. And we say, enough is enough. We need to put a stop to this. In fact, there was a lady from Reservoir Hills before the society came up. And she's been without electricity for 6 months. In fact, I was hoping that she can come here. But she doesn't have transport and she's elderly and she can't walk and stuff. This lady reached out to us. And when she reached out to us, I spoke to my committee and I explained to them there's a situation. This lady needs help. We referred her to the association that's involved here, who claims to be involved in whatever happened. And they couldn't get her. She couldn't get her. So she came back to us. She came back to us, I went back to my committee. I said, guys, this is the situation, this lady needs help. What do we do? We debated about it and we said we need to help this lady. So we got involved as the Reservoir Ratepayers Association. We sent an email to the city. So the background to this is, she stays in this house and she had children. And the children were responsible for the payment of the utility bill. For some reason, the children stopped paying. And she was under the impression that they were still paying. Finally, the municipality came to disconnect. And that's when she realized that the utility bill wasn't being paid. It was a substantial amount, about 80,000. And she doesn't have the money, she's a pensioner. So anyway, they had a family dispute, she kicked the children out, but she's still stuck with 80,000. The municipality disconnected her. They disconnected her for a while, it was a couple of months. And then somewhere she heard about us, she reached out to us, and as I said, we said to her sister. So, because we have been engaging with the municipality legally, we've been putting them on terms for a long time. In fact, we have a case against the municipality for anyone who owned property between 2005 and 2009. That case is going to be heard on the 14th of August. We're going for a declarative because whatever money was collected in that period was collected illegally. And we are challenging the municipality on this. So anyone who's owned property anywhere in the city between 2005 and 2009, we also then send them or put them on terms for lights, electricity. We also put the municipality on terms for the sewer and for some other thing I can't remember. So the city is aware of where we are in terms of taking them on. When this lady came to us, now remember this, no person can get disconnected from electricity, it's illegal. They have to provide you with an alternate source, meaning a rebate system. And you will then sign the agreement. But they can't just simply disconnect you and leave. They can't do that. It's unconstitutional. So we wrote to the city, obviously from our attorneys, and we put them on demand. They said, we're giving you 2 days. You need to connect this lady. And within 2 days, she was back on the grid. That's basically the power of association.
My second question is, assume that we are up to date with our accounts, and the mere fact that we don't pay and pay this account form, we'll obviously get paid interest on our bills. And when the dispute is over and done with, what happens to interest on our newly approved fixes?
In terms of the law, they will have to reverse all of those interest charges. They cannot institute any credit control measures after you have declared the dispute, which includes disconnection of any service, water and electricity. They cannot rescind any credit agreements. This agreement that you made with them, they can't rescind that, meaning it's still valid. We are disputing on a separate issue, but we're saying for your purposes, we're telling you don't be part of the campaign. You be the supporter, you be our cheerleader. We'll go in the front, we'll do the punches, we'll get blue eyes and bloody noses. You just stand there and you just support us for your case, right? Because we don't want to get into a separate legal battle right now. We only want to challenge one or two things. We'll get to that when we need to get to that. So we say stay on the sidelines if they charge any interest on those arrear amounts, they will have to reverse it because we will challenge them in court. If there is a reconnection charge, so let's just assume that they disconnected someone, then in order for them to reconnect you, there is a charge. We say we will challenge that, and if we have to pay for it, we will pay for it. We say as a WRA.
Thank you very much. Just the last thing is a suggestion, another question. In the event of being in the future, we all want to start, maybe suggest maybe we contribute to a funding, maybe probably buy about 10 or 15 generators to safeguard those who get disconnected. For example, in long weekends, where we are unable to get a labor in the tightly and loan to them, so their concerns, like the things that are having a bad, is taken care of. Thank you.
We actually looked at that scenario, I think I remember around 6 or 8 months before this. We actually rolled out a survey to ask people what alternate energy product that you have. So then you have inverter, solar, generator, etc., etc. But guys, what we're saying is it's not going to be more than a day, seriously. So to incur a cost of a generator just for this, we're not advising. It's 1 day of without electricity. I'm sure we can put up with that.
Okay, 1 second. Anyone who has signed the attendance register? I'm not ladies and gentlemen of the attendance register. Hi. In case if the dispute is filed, and for instance, the case is lost, will the credit that is accrued against your account still be reversed?
Any other question?
So if the dispute is filed and for some reason the case is lost, is the credit on your account still reversed?
What?
Will the credit on the account still be reversed?
If we lose.
Yeah, because we will transfer the money back to the city.
And the interest accrued?
If there's any interest accrued, we'll cover it. We'll cover it, the WRA. Again, so there's a question that's floating around that the city will impose higher than normal interest charges. I don't know where they get that from. The city is subjected to certain legislation, and one of it is the Public Finance Management Act. They can only impose the standard as approved by National Treasury. They can't go above that. If it's 3%, they can only charge 3%. They can't charge you 50%. So, whoever speaks like that, they have no idea.
Good evening. Firstly, I wish to commend the Reservoir Ratepayers Association for leading this fight. I think it's a battle of many, and especially people who are elderly, as you mentioned, cannot, access sometimes communication platforms to get people from the municipality to deliver on services. But I just wanted to know, to curiosity, what are some of the reasons why the Reservoir Hills Ratepayers Association didn't want to participate in this? Firstly. Secondly, I saw that the first time this was covered, I saw it on national news. So, how many other ratepayers associations within Durban? Because we have some areas that are bigger than reservoirs in terms of membership. How many other areas are participating in this already? And lastly, I think please help us by reassuring us what mechanisms are in place to ensure the security of monies that are being put into that fund to be paid to the municipality. I know you mentioned some things about the link and how how it will be recorded and paid into. Then the issue about, that used to be floating around about ratepayers who told the rates and properties being put on sale, and the municipality taking action against us individually. I think people need to be reassured before you can say, yes, we're ready to participate and take the risk to something like this. Thanks.
Since we started the campaign, we've got Sydenham, Asheville, Musgrave, Overport, Hillcrest, Durban North, New Germany, a part of Phoenix, part of Chatsworth. We're meeting the community of Chatsworth next week, Wednesday. We're meeting the community of Toti on Saturday. Who else? I can't remember. It's across the city. I mean, we've got people across the city. There's lots and lots of people. As to why the Ratepayers Association from here, they have their view, we respect their view. They believe that people will lose their houses, they believe that people will lose their jobs, they believe cane rats will take over the city. We respect their views. The issue of you losing your house is not even part of the discussion. That agreement is between you and your bank. You need to make sure you pay your bond. As long as you pay your bond, the banks don't interfere with anything that you are defaulting with against the municipality. Even if the municipality has to come to the point of you losing your house, that's like 6 months, 8 months. And again, we're saying there's no way they can even come to that point. Once you've declared the dispute, you've declared the dispute. They cannot do anything, they stop. So there's enough legislation in terms of the section 102.2 which puts the city on the back foot once you've declared that dispute.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Farid Adams from 42 Sharon Drive. If I read this correctly, if I sign up for this thing and I all my details in, I would manually have to deposit every month my water rates, whatever, into your bank account. And I'd just like to know, when I am logging onto this link that you said, obviously there's going to be sensitive information, ID number, account details and all that. I'm assuming that appropriate measures has been taken for security reasons, because if there's a leak, there might be some use issues.
Correct. So all the information is subject to the POPI Act. In fact, that's the reason why it's taking us a little bit longer, and it's costing us money as the WRA. These guys don't know it yet, but it's costing us money to make sure all of this is secure. The current method that we have in terms of the link that we have been sending out is a forms link. And even though secure, we're not comfortable with it. So what we're moving to is a server-based system where the information will be held on the server rather than on a laptop which can be hacked. We obviously, strengthening up that aspect of making sure that the information is secure. Obviously from our side, and this is where everyone needs to understand. Once you've signed the form, we collect your information, we are compelled by law to send that information to the municipality. So we need to tell the municipality, Mr. So-and-so, this account number, that amount of money is in this account. We compelled by law, we have to send them that spreadsheet so they will know who you are. We have to do that.
That's on a monthly basis. And I deposit your account, they didn't know X amount has been deposited.
Correct. Each month, actually from the way we design the system, as soon as you put money into the account, you will receive a statement from us. So month one statement, as an example, will be 1,000 rand. On month 2, when you deposit, because you get issued a unique code or something, a unique reference number for your particular details. So on month 2, let's assume you put in the second 1,000 rand, which I doubt we'll even go into month 2, to be honest with you, but we never know. Let's just assume you go into month 2, then it will be 1,000 rand, plus 1,000 rand, your statement will create 2,000 rand in your name.
Just last question for me, Hemant, 131 Nancy Avenue. I heard the interview on the radio, quite a sobering interview that got the whole country talking as well. Let's talk about it this morning as well on SAFM. My question to you is, other cities in the country, they're all on this bandwagon of what's happening right now, it's making everyone. Are there any success stories from other cities that took the same approach and have come out tops? Same model that we're looking at, we're using, or something that we're just doing first time and making in our best shot, because it's a very good one we're talking about and it will work if you put our mind to it. But could you share anything else with other cities, because you talk about every day on the radio as well on SAFM after your interview with the presenter, which I've heard the other day. Thank you.
We're actually going in uncharted territory. No one has done what we've done. And for a simple reason, I can't even understand why no one's actually gone down this route. As an example, the Auditor General report. These reports, they're out there in the public domain for the last, 27, 28 years. These reports talk about the maladministration and the loss of funds. The unfortunate part about the Auditor General report is it's unenforceable. The most that can happen is it can go to Parliament, they can discuss it, and that's it. We actually were looking at the route of taking these Auditor General reports into the courts to compel the municipalities to abide by those reports. What we've done now is, in terms of this action, we've incorporated it in part of our action. So, insofar as the other people across the country, they're actually looking at us, because they suddenly realize they can actually do the same thing. And they also watching us very closely. They are giving us support. In fact, they've been requesting us to come and assist them. We are assisting them and giving them the ideas, etc., etc. We've been receiving support from retired judges, from senior counsel, from legal guys. And initially, when they look at what we're doing, the first thing is, why don't you go for a high court action, etc., etc. And when we explain to them the strategy, you just see their eyes just light up. They just realize, wow, why don't we think about this? And they're all on board. In fact, I get phone calls from a lot of them wanting to assist our legal team to help strengthen us. In fact, the executive has taken a decision to actually bring them on board, because part of the strategy when we do go to court is we will present to say, this is the legal team that we have behind us. Although we know that they're using us for mileage, because this is a done deal. I mean, they can see it for themselves. So the fact that they're going to put their names on our papers gets them some mileage and advertising. But the team are saying, you know what, let's just write this, because if we show the city, we don't come with one, we're not coming with one advocate or senior counsels, we're coming with the whole 10, 20, possibly put them on the back foot. So we'll use that strategy anyway.
Good evening, guys. I just have one question. I've been a resident of Westville for the last 30 years, and I recently acquired a property in Reservoir Hills. And I see the proportion of rates paid in Westville, it's much lower than the rates paid in Reservoir Hills with very limited amenities. Could you brief us on the structures of how the rates are calculated?
So unfortunately, the city has different billing systems for different areas. I think it goes up to C or D. And an area that's regarded as A will pay a different tariff for rates and electricity and water. If you're in a area that's regarded as previously advantaged, the tariffs there are a lot lower. And that's a policy that they've taken, and legally they can do that. They can do that, but it's not to say that it can't be challenged.
Can Reservoir Ratepayers Association, now that we've joined alliance with the Reservoir Hills Ratepayers Association, can you actually motivate the reasoning behind this?
Yeah, in fact, part of the discussions, in fact, each area has unique challenges. We, as the Reservoir Ratepayers Association, we welcome anyone who needs assistance. And what we're also saying is we're pushing for the administration of the city. That's the game plan. And we have reasons for that. When we get to, or we're hoping we get to that, when we get to that point of establishing what you call a board, then the different areas obviously will be part of that meeting, and it will shape the way that the discussion will move. So all these concerns for your particular area becomes part of the discussion, and we look for the solution. Understand that what we're doing as well, we're not doing this to punish the city. That's not the strategy. The strategy is to get to a point to start rebuilding the city. That's what we're trying to do. And the quicker we can get to that point where we can bring them to the discussion table to say, you failed, and if we don't take these measures, the city is going to collapse. You lose business, already we're losing business, we're losing tourism. The city is in a mess, infrastructure is in a mess, and we have to get to the point of rebuilding. So when do we get to rebuild? We can't wait 6 months, we can't wait one year. We have to start the rebuilding process. It needs to happen urgently. All the infrastructure across the city has collapsed. We've met with a senior official from Gaining Water. He spoke to us off the record because he wanted to assist us. And these guys, they do forecasting. And that's most cities do this. But that particular department, they do forecasting. They do 10-year, 15-year forecasting. In terms of their forecasting, in 2023, we were only supposed to be around 1.8, 1.9 million people. We are 1 million over. We're sitting on 3.8 million. That puts a whole lot of pressure on your natural resources and obviously electricity. So your water, your sanitation, electricity, food, employment, all of these things go under pressure. In the next 5 years, that 3.9 million, when you put in the numbers, is going to be close to about 4.8, 4.9 million. There's not enough water for 3.8 million as we stand. Right as we stand right now, the city is struggling to provide water for the 3.8 million. Hence, they're talking about rebuilding or building a new dam. Part of the problem is we're losing 56% of the water that gets piped to the city. And the reason why we're losing it is because the infrastructure has collapsed. Every time you talk to the city, they say, oh, aged infrastructure. We are saying for how many more years we're going to hear aged infrastructure? I mean, you guys have water issues here almost every week. I see it on the groups. Pipe bursts, etc., etc., etc. Now, under normal circumstances, when they do the infrastructure, the lifespan is between 20 to 25, 30 years maximum. If you do maintenance on the infrastructure, you can push it up to 60 to 80 years. We know for a fact that the city has done zero maintenance on any of the infrastructure. Hence, you are seeing what you are seeing. And it's proven by the fact that we're losing 56% of the water that gets piped to the city. We are saying we need to fix this. Because the 56, in fact, if you look at the reports, it started off 15%, 20%, 30%, now it's 56%. The water loss started from R500,000 up to 2022 last year. We lost 1.7 billion rand. 1.7 billion rand of water, which is basically open the tap and you let it flow. So we say, at which point do we tell the city we join the line in the sand? You don't know what you're doing. You need help. We want to start this process of rebuilding. And why are we rebuilding? We're not just rebuilding for our communities. In fact, I was in a business meeting that some of these guys arranged for us at the WRA. So we're sitting at a high-level meeting. And part of the discussion is exactly what we're talking about. The ones that we are sitting here in the hall, our people, we are regarded as middle income. Why? Because we've got brick and mortar, we've got the roof overhead, etc., etc., etc. So whether we lower middle income, or middle income, or high middle income, the fact is we're middle income. It becomes our responsibility now to fight this fight for the previously disadvantaged. They can't do this. There's no one that can speak for them. And if we don't do something, this entire society is going to collapse. It's about the story about the people in the boat. You've got an upper level and you've got a lower level. The people on the upper level, they're sunbathing, they're tanning, they're eating cheese, they're drinking wine, etc., they're partying, etc. The people on the lower level can't come up to the upper level because they're lower class. You must stay in the bottom. And the guys on the top forgot about the people in the lower level and they said, to hell with them. And the people in the lower level needed water. And because they can't come out to the upper level because it's the upper class, what did they do? They made a hole in the bottom to let water into the ship. And then the entire ship sank. And that's exactly what's going to happen to us. If we don't step in and we don't make these changes and we don't demand these changes, we as a society, we are going to fail. I mean, when you talk to the city, they're telling you we need money or we need a bigger budget because we have to address the imbalances of the past. I had a community reach out to me from Richmond Farm, which is just outside of Newlands. This community has not had piped water for 3 years. I'm asking, is that acceptable? Okay, let's forget about them. Let's talk about the 22 settlements that you have around here. You have 22 informal settlements. We go on with life, we complain, they disrupt us, etc., etc., etc. We got lots of complaints. But think about this. Do they deserve to stay in that kind of conditions? In 2023, after 30 years, is it acceptable that we have this? It's totally unacceptable. And the fact that this municipality had 300 million rand, it's not to say that they didn't have the money. They had the money, but they didn't have it. So what we are saying is, you need to improve the lives of those people. And not because we're selfish. Think about this. Those 20 informal settlements puts pressure on this community. It puts pressure for water. It puts pressure for electricity. It puts pressure for sanitation. It puts pressure for waste removal. That community is informal. They do not have a billing system. So the municipality doesn't collect revenue from them. But the waste has to be dealt with. That's the reality. So who's paying for it? You guys are paying for it. Or the whole city is paying for it. And we say all of these things need to be addressed. But what we are doing is, we're just turning a blind eye. Every day we wake up, we go to bed, we think it's going to get better, but it's not. So it's up to us to make these changes because the government is failing. They're failing nationally, they're failing at provincial level, they're failing at national level. You open up the newspaper or any social media, you'll see so much of this was gone, so much of that is gone, so much of this is gone. And we say, we need to protect the money. It's our constitutional obligation to ensure that we protect the money. Because if you have a child, and this child is for some reason, he's an addict, and you know he's an addict, and every morning he asks you for 50 rand, and every morning you give him 50 rand, and he comes in the evening and he doesn't even remember who his father is, then you are the problem. Because you needed to take away, you are enabling him. You're enabling him by giving him the money. We are enabling this municipality to do what they're doing because we're giving them the money. And we're saying enough is enough. If you want to challenge us, take us to court. We've got enough legal people behind us. We're ready for you to take us on. Let's see what happens.
Hi, good evening. Okay, thank you for that explanation. It's actually a good articulation of the problem, of the many problems that we have. I just want to know exactly in terms of the dispute that's going to be lodged, what exactly is going to be disputed and what would be considered a win in this dispute?
We are disputing that we were not given a fair opportunity to discuss the tariff increase. That's the first thing. Number two, you didn't give us the platform to engage with you, the public participation process. Number three, we are disputing the fact that we need to pay you because you can't look after our money. We made it very clear with them on that.
Yeah, but in terms of like fund allocations, in terms of solving problems, I don't know, maybe I'm not understanding it properly. Perhaps any more clarity on that?
I didn't hear the question.
Yeah, what exactly would be considered a win in terms of your dispute? I mean, we know that you are disputing certain things that you know the municipality should have done. And at the end of the day, the court, if you're winning the case, they'll tell you, yes, they should have done it. But ultimately, what is the tangible win and the way forward?
Okay, I understand the question. So what we are, whether we go to court or whether we get to the discussion table with the municipality, these are our terms and conditions. Number one, the tariff increases are set aside. Firstly, they are illegal, and we can prove that they're illegal. So the tariff increase for 2023-2024 needs to be set aside, meaning we go back to what we were paying before July. That's the first thing. Number two, we're going to redraft the budget and take into account the projected losses that we need to ensure that doesn't happen for the future. Taking that into account, whatever the tariff increase is, whether it's a 1%, 2%, 3%, and it's justified, we'll accept that. But we're not accepting what you put on the table. It's unjustifiable due to the fact that you just come sat and you came up with a figure. And we can prove that because they put an 18.49 electricity tariff. We challenged this at NERSA, and we implored NERSA. We told NERSA, if you give them anything more than 15.1, we're going to take you to court. So NERSA needed the call, they listened to us, they told the city, you cannot go more than 15.1. We went back to the city, we said, if you take the 15.2, we will take you to court and we will ensure that you lose your license agreement because you're not allowed to. So they listened to us and they applied the 15.1. Nevertheless, the fact that they presented 18.49 and because the WRA put them under pressure, they went to 15.41, we are asking the question, how did you do the calculations? It takes you 6 months to prepare a budget. You did this in 3 days. So what we are saying is, set aside, let's relook at the budget. Once we've agreed on what the new tariffs will be, we will discuss it. We want an establishment of an oversight committee, meaning a board. If you agree to these terms and conditions, that's a win for us. If not, we will continue with the protest.
I just like to find out one thing. Those municipalities that are placed under administration, were they any before and after success stories after they were placed under administration?
The problem with that is, well, in terms of legislation, if you read the legislation, it's 100% on the mark. In fact, to be honest with you, I think there's some people from this community, I'm talking about the stalwarts, who were part of the process. When they looked at the constitution, they looked at the legislation, and they wrote these things into place. The design was 100% on the mark in terms of the administration, putting a city under administration. I don't think they envisioned that it would be as bad as it is. Now, when a city is placed under administration, it's actually a corrective measure. It forces province to step in and rectify the misbehavior, etc., etc. The problem is you're putting a referee to be a player. I mean, it's I know you, you know me. I'm the guy that's being naughty, and you, my friend. How are you going to correct my behavior? So that's where the problem is. In fact, at all levels of government, provinces themselves have a problem. There's looting and corruption happening there. At a national level, it's the same thing. And when we looked at proportional representation, because this is what we chose for ourselves, when we crafted democracy, proportional representation. Proportional representation works when the numbers are not more than 30%, meaning no one party can take more than 30%. So each would have an equal say. In our situation, you're looking at over 50%, 60% going to one party. Proportional representation is not working for us.
And any success stories on the Amgeni municipality?
Yes. If you're talking about how it, and that's a brilliant example. In fact, some of the guys are going there tomorrow to look at and have a discussion with Christopher Papas. Now, Christopher Papas was actually a councillor here in Takwini. He was in Ward 31, that Sydenham Overport was gave that particular ward. And he ran that ward like a firecracker. Serious. He did his job. In fact, it was one of the best wards in Takwini under him. When he got elected as mayor of Howick, Umgeni municipality, he turned the municipality from red to black in less than 6 months. And how he did this basically was, as soon as he became the mayor, he made all the people in the department reapply for their jobs. And he looked at their experience. And those that didn't have experience, he was well within the labor laws to actually take action, and he did that. And then he went to the informal communities who were not paid, who were connected illegally. And he had the discussions with them to say, listen, see the benefit. You use, you pay. But if you use, it's not going to be too expensive for you. And he showed it to them. So there was a little bit of protest and public order policing got involved. But there were one or two who bought into what he said. And those who bought in went and explained to the rest who were waiting to see what happens. And basically, in terms of our constitution, you are entitled to free basic water and electricity, which is what he did. He said, you will get free basic water and electricity provided you put the meter. But if you exceed this limit, then you must pay, which is fair, which is what we are all saying. And people accepted this. And now, in less than 6 months, the city is in the black. Very good example. I mean, if we can have leaders like that, that's what we're asking for, then we won't even be sitting here.
Don't you think our rates are too excessive compared to Johannesburg? Our rates are 37% more than Johannesburg.
Not only our rates, we pay far more for water. If you look at our average household, you probably, even without pools, etc., you pay over 2,000, over 1,000 rand for water. If you have friends in Joburg, if they get a bill for 1,000 rand for water, they'll fall down. We make it excessive. We're paying excessive on rates, excessive on water. And our water, the way they've structured it, you'll find that you use so many kiloliters is one rate. You go over and above so many rates. And what they're also doing is, they deliberately don't read your meter for 3 months. And after 3 months, they give you an average. When they give you the average, it pushes you in a different category. So now you're paying more. And again, that's illegal. Because in terms of legislation, what it says is, a municipality is given a maximum of 3 months in exceptional circumstances not to take the reading. Meaning, if there's a problem, and the most they can not read your meter is 3 months. But they have to read your meter. The law says they must read because it becomes fraudulent to do these averages. In fact, they're robbing us. It's fraud. So what they do is they're reading us every 3 months and hitting you with an average. And that's not how it's supposed to be done. In fact, we're going to put a stop to that.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Sam Appleton from Stanton Street, Reservoir Hills. Thank you for the initiative, but 2 questions. If we join this protest of withholding our utilities, for how long are we expected to withhold the payments?
For how long?
Are we expected to withhold the payments?
So my payment is due this month, I withhold that. Action is taken against me by the council. You guys assist in reinstating my services. Am I expected to withhold it next month and the following month? For how long is that expected?
We will hold out for as long as we need to hold out. There's a community just down the road from us, Scottsboro. They've been withholding for 3 years.
Okay. Having said that, the question is, does the council have a legal right then to take action against me as an individual withholding that payment, to blacklist me with the ITC?
ITC?
The ITC. That's a credit bureau.
They cannot, so you're talking about if they're going to single you out and target you?
Not just me, but every individual here that would withhold their payments.
I think you have the last one.
I say not just me, but every individual that would withhold their payments. Do they have a right to blacklist us as either slow payers or take judgment against us as non-payers? Thank you.
They can't, and if there's evidence to prove that they have, we will take them to court.
If that is the case, then us as individuals will be really compromised from credit ratings and credit facilities going forward. How would that then help us as individuals joining this cause, which is a fantastic cause by the way, but it could have far-reaching consequences if the municipality does take that kind of action, and it takes years for us to then stand up against them to have those judgments rescinded. Thank you.
I think I answered the question, but I'm going to answer it again. They can't. Bottom line is they can't. And I'm saying if they do, because these people do what they want to do. I'm saying they're not supposed to and they can't. But there's a possibility that they will. And I'm saying if they do, we will take them to court. We will even go as far as the Constitutional Court, if we have to reverse any of these negative ITC credit ratings that you're talking about. So it's not to say that we're just going to do this and not take action. Anything, if you can prove that you are getting a negative score and it's as a result of the Tekwini municipality, because remember, ITC is done in the background. They don't need to inform you. They can do this behind the scenes and negatively influence your ITC rating. And if you can prove that, we will challenge you. That's what I'm saying. Comes back to the budgeting, right? So when you build a budget, and correctly if you build the budget, you start from the bottom up, meaning you go to each of the departments, right? So let's look at electricity as an example. You start off from the bottom and you say, what are the things that we require? We require spares, we require so many lights, we require whatever, right? So then there's a cost that's assigned to you. Then you look at the number of staff that you have and the salaries that you're going to pay. Then you look at how many staff is in that department. Is it sufficient? And we know that it's not. So you start building from the bottom up. Then you come to a figure. Once you come to the figure, you then plug it into the main budget and then we look. Is this budget affordable, yes or no? And then what we would then have to look at is all the waste. Remove all of these things. As an example, this weekend they gave out 500 million rand for a fashion something. Now we said take away all of this. The municipality's primary focus is service delivery, not fashion shows. So removing all of these things, we can then look at the number. To build this, to answer your question on service delivery, is an intense process. you have to scrutinize the budget. By making sure that the city has the right budget, we can ensure that we get the right service delivery. Incidentally, it's in-depth. It's in fact beyond our pay grade as the WRA to do this. We've received help, we've received offers from past people who have this experience, and they said they will assist us, meaning that they will help to build these budgets and ensure that we get these things right. We don't have the skills to do it.
Just one question. Are you looking for a kind of big bang effect in terms of, say, this particular month is when we will withhold? Or have you started already withholding investment? Because you mentioned that you had a number of other areas joining you. So it might be quite a good strategy.
Yes.
Or big bang effect.
The big bang is what we want. But
Yeah.
even
And which month you are then targeting?
it's from this month. From this month. So we're starting from this month. I can tell you this much. There are people that are in Treasury that have been talking to us. Even if we get to a point of withholding around 10 million rand, it will put the city under pressure.
Well, that's a good thing, because then we might not have to withhold even for the second or third month, because they'll collapse even before that.
100%. 100%. Mind you, they are taking us serious. I do believe we will be meeting with them next week regarding this particular issue. And our demands will remain the same. We're going to remain, set aside the tariff increase for 2023. Let's relook at the budget and let's put systems in place to ensure that no money is leaving the city. That's it. Those demands, if they agree to all of these, and the fourth thing, the establishment of an oversight committee. If they agree to all of these things, and they have to agree. They have to agree. I mean, they can't not agree. They are actually on the back foot.
Oh, it's very important that all this happens, because, well, I have to compliment you for setting what is obviously a precedent. Whatever stencil you put now into place will be followed by other municipalities if you get these things that you're looking for.
And the flip side,
I think this groundswell has to happen.
And on the flip side, if we get it wrong, we get it wrong for the whole country. And that's also pressure for us.
Yeah, I know that, but from the passion and the expertise that WRA has shown tonight, you are on the right path. You are not doing something that is illegal. You are not doing something that is out of kilter. All you are doing is asking people to be accountable for what we give them every month. And that is a reasonable request. It is not something that is way out.
Yeah.
100%. I think you summed it up. Is there any more questions? Yes, sir.
I just need to know, so what is this date that you intend putting this dispute in? And what are the next steps?
Yeah, we were actually hoping to share the link tonight at this particular venue. But in the next day or so, we will share the link. Once we share the link, it will direct you to obviously provide the information that's required, your name, your surname, email address, telephone number, account number, and the amount on your utility bill. There's certain security features that's assigned that we have to make sure that this account number, that amount, and this person, so all those features we're busy with. And once you've done that and you've put your money in your account, you will get the statement telling you how much you've deposited, etc., etc. That's all you have to do. That's it. We put you into the WhatsApp group. In the WhatsApp group, if they because we ask the question, Because we're telling the city what we're doing. We're not hiding this. I mean, the media has been covering this for a while now. We are telling the city we are in protest with you. And what's our protest? We are withholding our money. So we're telling them this. What they're supposed to do is take us to court or interdict us. They're supposed to interdict us and say, hey, you're not allowed to do this. But they know they're going to lose, so they haven't done that. So all we're going to do is we're going to do this. They might, instead of waiting 14 days, they might within 7 days issue a notice. And we're hoping they do. Because, like I said, we want to get to court to argue the matter. Let the courts decide who's right, who's wrong. So let's assume in the first week or second week we're in court. We win, they budget. And I can tell you now, if we go to court and we get the precedent, and most municipalities and government institutions, they are afraid of losing in court. Because if they lose, it's a precedent. Meaning, 6 months from now, 6 years from now, they make us cross, we're going to do the same thing. We'll withhold our money, we've got the precedent. So, they rather negotiate and go for a court process. But let's assume we go to court and we lose for some reason. It's only 2 weeks in the account, there won't be any penalty charges. Easy, we transfer the money, we go back to the drawing board, we look at our strategy. But we most certainly won't leave them. We're going to challenge them every step of the way.
Hi, good evening. My name is Bhavna Naidu. Thank you to the Reservoir Hills Association for recording us here tonight. My question is, with the rates bill, when we signed the agreement with the municipality, is there a clause in the bill that says that if you do not pay your rates, you can sell the house?
Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Okay, in the agreement that we signed with the municipality for the rates, is there a clause in that that states that if you do not pay your rates, they are allowed to sell your house?
No, there's no such thing.
So why do they?
Sorry?
I believe many houses were sold because the rate was not paid.
Sorry, you mean that someone's house was sold because they didn't pay rates?
Yes.
Okay. So there are certain instances where, and again, these are constitutional issues. In terms of the constitution, you are entitled to have a house. The government can't just remove the house. It has to be under exceptional circumstances. Now, you're looking at the government taking away a house from one of you. I haven't heard of that. But you would have to have been owing them a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? So maybe like 200,000 and the house is valued at 100,000, and they will put it on auction to recover that money. They can only do that if you haven't entered into an agreement with the city. I mean, I know of people right now that are owing R500,000 rand in terms of utilities, and the city hasn't taken their house away because there is an agreement. In terms of our constitution, if there's an agreement, they can't do nothing. But with all that being said, we would have to look at the situation and understand what led to this. Why did you come to a situation where you're owing the city so much of money? Also, what we are saying, in terms of the dispute, there's this legislation in the Municipal Systems Act called Section 102, subsection 2, which states if you declare a dispute, they cannot take any credit control measures against you, including putting your house on auction. So whoever is telling you that they lost the house because they withheld the rates, they don't know what they're talking about.
Okay, the other thing about the dispute, I know it is, you do not have to pay, they would not penalize you for during the dispute, you don't have, but you need to pay your current bill during a dispute. The arrears stays in dispute, but your current bill
didn't get the question.
Okay, in case of a dispute, when you are in dispute of your account, right, of your owing amount, during that time of the dispute, you still need to pay your current bill. You need to continue to pay your current bill.
I don't know who gave you that advice. What we are saying as the WRA, in terms of our dispute, we have made it very, very clear why we are in dispute. And what we're saying is, in terms of this dispute, we are protesting. We have a right to protest in terms of the Constitution. You can go and climb on top of a tree and wave a flag, and that's your right as a protest. We are saying we're not going to go and burn tires on the road, block the M19 or the M13. Our protest is we're not going to pay the city a single cent. Now, you can find people telling you all what you are asking me about. They're not the lawyers. The court will have to decide whether we are entitled to pay the full amount or just a portion. And if the court decides and they say no, you can withhold the increase and pay the standing. Whatever the courts tell us, we listen to them. But we're not going to listen to any individual who tells us what we're doing is wrong. That's not going to happen.
Okay, this information I'm giving you, I'm a community activist and I handle a lot of people's accounts. I have been dealing with municipality and this is from the municipality. So you do not pay, you do not get your services disconnected during a dispute, but your current bill during a dispute needs to be paid. I'm not talking about the amount owing, like you're owing 200,000, that's in dispute. That's fine, we will not disconnect you, but you need to continue with your current bill. This is from the municipality, not hearsay or somebody talking about it.
Ma'am, you're talking about the municipality and I'm talking about the court. And I'm not sure who in the municipality told you what. And what I'm telling you is that the court supersedes the municipality. The municipality can come with any law, bylaw, or whatever. It's the court who will decide. That's what I'm telling you.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Sam.
Okay, I think that was the last question. We can close the meeting. Thank you so much.
The Reservoir Hills community to help elderly people to fill up forms and whatnot. Any volunteers from the Reservoir Hills community to fill up those forms for dispute?
Volunteers.
Yes, they will set it up. In fact, we're going to speak to each of the different community leaders to help us because it is a process. It is a process.
Thank you.
And if you guys can set that up, it will help us. Okay. And we as the WRA, we will also assist. So if you all need help, you can reach out to us. We will support you. We might just take one of our executives as a support to some of the associations. We put one person and we will try and do it.
And when is the last date for the dispute?
No, there's no closing. We simply put the money, withhold our money, and when we reach an agreement, that will be the last.
We haven't received our statement.
Yes, yes. As long as you haven't been paying, but if you are on a debit card, they will take the money away. Okay, thank you very much, guys.